Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams helped knock off former head coach Matt Eberflus in Sunday's 31-14 win over the Dallas Cowboys, but the second-year signal caller has insisted there was nothing personal behind the victory. Williams had one of the best games of his young career against the Cowboys on Sunday, completing 19 of 28 passes for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns against Eberflus' unit. It helped that his offensive line limited the Cowboys to just one quarterback pressure and kept him from getting sacked for the first time in his 20 career games in the NFL. For some fans, the Bears' dominant offensive performance offered a measure of revenge against the team's former head coach, who posted a 14-32 record in his 3 seasons. After the game, however, Williams downplayed the personal element of the win, even though he made it clear that defeating his former head coach felt great on Sunday. "I don't think it really necessarily matters who when you are able to have a game as effective as we were able to have on offense," Williams said in Sunday's postgame. "It feels great, to be honest, whether it was Matt or it was any other defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, Flo, or anybody else that we played, or anybody else that we're going to play. When you're able to go out and score a bunch of points on offense, it's fun, obviously, because you put in so much hard work and you want to be able to go out there and execute the plays that are called. That's what happened today." Bears took advantage of Matt Eberflus' familiarity. The Bears played a good game against the Cowboys, avoiding penalties and execution issues to claim their first win of the 2025 regular season. In at least some part, though, the Bears benefited from their familiarity with Eberflus' defensive scheme in Week 3. For instance, Bears head coach Ben Johnson dialed up a flea flicker play in the first quarter of Sunday's win that went off without a hitch. Williams caught the deceptive pitchback from running back DeAndre Swift and hurled it 62.1 air yards downfield in the nick of time, finding rookie wideout Luther Burden III for a 65-yard touchdown. After the game, Johnson and Williams both spoke about how they had worked all week on the flea flicker in practice to ensure they would execute it right against the Cowboys, but Johnson also gave credit to his staff for finding an exploit in Eberflus' defense. "We have gadgets up every week," Johnson said Sunday night. "I give the staff a lot of credit. They're going through, watching the tape, and finding out things that may or may not fit, whether it's Dallas this year or some of the stuff we're watching of Chicago's defense from yesteryear. So that was really a staff find. And we worked it all week and felt comfortable calling it this week." Caleb Williams continues to show progress in 2025. While the Bears are still trying to pull themselves out of the muck of their 0-2 start, they should feel encouraged about the progress that Williams has shown thus far in 2025. Williams has gradually played better over the first few weeks, improving his completion percentage and passer rating in each of his 3 performances and looking increasingly more settled, particularly with his refined footwork, when dropping back to pass. He also mailed accurate deep balls against the Cowboys, an area in which he has struggled. For his efforts against the Cowboys, Williams earned the NFC's Offensive Player of the Week honor in Week 3, which should help further boost his confidence for this week. Even still, the Bears must continue to see improvement from Williams to feel certain about him as their long-term answer at the quarterback position. He will have another opportunity to prove himself in Week 4 against the Las Vegas Raiders, who have the 9th worst passing defense through the first 3 weeks of the regular season. The Bears, 1-2, will face off against the Raiders, 1-2. At 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. The Dallas Cowboys sorely missed their all-pro nickel cornerback, Darren Bland, as a poor defensive display allowed Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears to put up 31 points on them, as the Cowboys lost by a 3-score margin. The team decided to use Reddy Stewart and other safeties in the slot in Bland's absence, but it seems that, ahead of what will be the team's most challenging game this season to date, with perhaps the exception of the season opener against the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, they may have some good news. Per Melissa Stark, speaking as a guest on 105.3 The Fan, Bland stated that he would for sure be playing on Sunday night. "Yesterday I did talk to Darren Bland. He's going to play, obviously for sure," Stark said on Thursday. "I think he thinks that it's just a couple of communication issues here and there, and that him coming back will make a massive difference." When asked to clarify if it was the case that Bland was certainly going to play, Stark was pretty clear. "That's what he told me." Darren Bland confirms he will play on Sunday. After returning to practice on Wednesday, albeit in a limited form, and being listed as questionable midweek, there was cautious optimism that the Fresno State alum would be available come the big SNF game in Green Bay. Jerry Jones stated on Tuesday that he believed that there was a good chance that Bland would suit up on Sunday, whilst head coach Brian Schottenheimer echoed those remarks, stating that the 2023 interceptions leader was trending towards playing. And now, according to the man himself, he will once again return to the field to face one of the more complicated offensive setups in the NFL. What will the Cowboys' secondary look like in Week 4? There is always a chance that Bland won't play, given that players can sometimes be a little over-optimistic about their on-field return dates. Case in point, All-Pro wide receiver CeeDee Lamb believed that he could return as early as this coming Sunday before being ruled out for 3 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain suffered against the Bears on a designed run. But more likely than not, if a player is trending towards playing and then confirms it to a media member with the line for sure, it would be surprising to not see them on the field come Sunday night. The optimism is not quite as high for the situation regarding fellow All-Pro boundary cornerback Trayvon Diggs, who missed Wednesday's practice as he recovers from a shoulder injury. Backup Tre'Quez Bridges was also limited in practice yesterday and could also end up missing the game, which would force Dallas to make a decision between starting veteran C.J. Goodwin beside Kare Elam or moving Bland to the outside and slotting in Reddy Stewart once more on the inside. Either way, the team will look a lot better if Diggs is able to return, but things have certainly taken a big turn for the better with Bland saying that he will play on Sunday. Few defensive backs have been as versatile as C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been over the past half-decade. A 2019 fourth-round pick for the New Orleans Saints, he made his name as a physical slot corner who could also play safety, blitz effectively, and cover top receivers if needed. His national breakout came in Philadelphia with the Eagles in 2022 when he tied for the NFL lead with 6 interceptions despite missing time with a lacerated kidney. He also started through the Eagles' run to the Super Bowl that season. He doubled down in 2024 back in Philly, again logging 6 picks on what became a championship roster. USA Today's Nick Brinkerhoff thinks CJGJ could help the Dallas Cowboys in multiple areas. Dallas defense had its soul zapped after the Micah Parsons trade and has never shied away from players like Gardner-Johnson, Brinkerhoff wrote on September 23. Parsons isn't walking through that door again, so Gardner-Johnson's blend of attitude and skill might just be what the Cowboys need to get their swagger back. Gardner-Johnson has had a wild start to his 2025 campaign. Now in year 7, Gardner-Johnson has 18 interceptions and 51 pass breakups in 77 games, 64 starts, over his career. A torn pectoral limited his 2023 stint with the Detroit Lions to 3 games before a late-season return. In 2024, he was back to full duty, starting 16 games for the Eagles. His 2025 stop in Houston recently ended abruptly after 3 starts. Multiple reports point to fit and friction with the coaching staff and team more than talent as the reason for what insider Ian Rappaport called a surprise release. ESPN detailed communication issues and difficulty meshing with DeMeco Ryans' match coverage rules. The move also followed veteran safety Jimmy Ward's reinstatement, which reshuffled the depth chart. Should the Dallas Cowboys sign safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson? So, should the Cowboys enter the chat with CJGJ currently available? We think so. Dallas leans heavily on sub-packages and interchangeability on the back end, and Gardner-Johnson is exactly the kind of movable piece who can supercharge dime looks and tighten red zone windows. Pairing him with Dallas' existing safety group and a ball-hawking corner like Darren Bland could absolutely spell trouble for opposing wideouts. He should also be relatively affordable. Because he was released after a restructure, he hits the market immediately, with Houston eating some dead money. That opens up a realistic 1-year, incentive-laden deal that would also protect Dallas on cash while rewarding the veteran DB for snaps played, interceptions, etc. Questions about his fit in Dallas are fair, but they're manageable. Gardner-Johnson has thrived when roles are clearly defined and communicated. Dallas staff can meet him there by narrowing his menu early. Worst-case scenario? He's a bust for a year. Best case? The Cowboys would be getting the best version of a player who is already tied for the league lead in picks. For a defense built around taking the ball away, the Cowboys could do a lot worse than Gardner-Johnson.